welcome. I'm Reverend Karin. I am one of the senior ministers here at the New Vision Center. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to look out and see each and every one of you who is here. Those of you who are here all the time and those who are here for the first time. It's not quite always like that. I just wanted to say that to those who are here for the first time. But we like it. Yeah. This is a teaching where we believe that Spirit wants us to have fun, to express. So exactly who you are, whatever is going on in your life, wherever you have been, whatever idea you have about yourself that might make you not eligible to come here is false. Right where you are, who you are, is welcomed here. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about community, and if you know me, you know I can talk about community for a couple days or until the dogs come home, or the cows. So until someone comes home. However, Reverend Leslie told me I have 2 hours only, so I have to cut out a lot of things. No, I'm just kidding. But I am excited. I am excited to talk about community because it is what has changed my life. And it is so present here, right? We can feel it. This invitation to come together, to take off the masks, to acknowledge the round belly, as we just heard. That is who we are. We are a place where exactly who we are, what we are going through, is welcome here. And when you think about it, there are some ground rules that we have to have established, that we have to agree upon, might they be implied or specifically laid out, so that we can all have our experience of that freedom, of that being who I am, without encroaching on somebody else's freedom. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the art and joy of community. And look at that picture. There is, it's a little hard to see, but that is the rainbow. And there is a pot of gold at the end. Usually it's filled with food and a bunch of people are around it. And that's who we are. So, my intention for today is that we explore together community with freshness and possibility, and that we enter into the realm of truly engaging with this talk. I loved the reading that Nancy read, and it talks about that if something happens for 27 seconds, it opens the door for it to happen longer times, at different times. So I invite us all to take a look around. Take a look at who is right now in community with you. Because that is what is happening right here. Right the way this is, it will never be again like that. And we are creating it together. Make no mistake, each one of you is adding to this experience. By your presence, by your consciousness, by being here. You might know that I am heading to Kelowna, Canada tomorrow. And yes, I will be back by Friday. Some people said, you're going to Canada? What? I'll be back by Friday. I am going to be there for the Centers for Spiritual Living Ministers Conference. And in reading up on the history, I came across the creation story of the Haida people of British Columbia, which centers on the image of Raven. A powerful, wise spirit and trickster, Raven is often depicted atop a clamshell washed ashore, and the humans are within it is both wise and deceptive. Because once we are in the world, our journey is not easy and the struggle is ongoing. And knowing as much, we might not want to be born. In the Museum of Anthropology at the University of British Columbia, there's an enormous wood structure. It shows a big bird on top of a shell, and there are humans in different stages of willingness coming out of that shell, being willing to be here. And the myth of the Haida people is that it takes humans for the world to be complete. And so the raven is helping humans to be born. I believe we have a picture of it. It is a huge, huge structure. I'm going to try to get out of the way. It took 10 years to carve the structure. It is done by Bill Wright and other Haida First Nation carvers. He chose this large project because he suffers from Parkinson's. He wasn't able anymore to do small projects, so he went big. He went very big, yes. So I look at this picture, and I contemplate my willingness to come out of the shell. And I think about community, about the charge of new vision to reveal the power of love, to live spiritual teaching. And that is the call that each and every one of us in this community has, to help another to be birthed forth by first being willing ourselves to come out of the shell fully. So I feel that New Vision Center has been that raven for me. It has been that safe space 12 years ago, 13 years ago, where I felt that I could come out of my shell. So what does it take? What does it take for a human to come fully alive? What does it take for us to be willing to share that which we are so used to protecting and hiding? Our love, our vulnerability, our kindness. I believe there are 3 points that we want to talk about. First, and Reverend Leslie and I often speak about that, how do we create a safe container here? Because you see, when we engage in this deep work, it is crucial that we create a space that is safe for one to do that inner work. That is safe for that shy part within us, for our soul to come out and be seen and heard. So we are very clear on some things that we don't do when we engage in that deep work. There's no fixing. There's no saving someone. There's no advising, and there's no setting straight. Because we don't need that. Our soul does not need that. It doesn't need to be told how to be, because it is. It does not need to be pointed to how something was done wrong. It needs to be witnessed. It needs to be received. It needs to be accepted. It needs to be heard and seen and loved. That's what we need. And that's all that we need. That's all we need. when someone comes to us, wherever they are, there's plenty of time to help with practical solutions. The first thing we have to do, we have to be willing, is to listen. Tell me about that. Breathing helps. Let's all take a breath together. Slowing down. When we are connected with someone, when someone comes to us, or we are in a space with someone who's doing that inner work, it behooves us to slow down. So we can be present to another. Our souls don't need a solution. Our souls need another to hold us. And so the way we're walking it out, we are really looking at Parker Palmer's model of trust circles, circles of trust. And Parker Palmer says, instead of fixing or saving or advising or setting someone straight, we teach our people to learn to ask honest, open questions. Honest, open questions. That sounds rather easy, does it not? Have you thought about seeing a therapist about that? Not an open, honest question. Have you thought about reading this book? It's really going to help you. No. Those are not open, honest questions. He defines open, honest questions as those questions that when we ask them, we do not know the answer. Anytime when we ask a question of someone and we really want them to get to the answer that we know is the correct answer, that is not an open, honest question. Now, what then is an open, honest question? I can see that you're going through a rough time right now. Have you ever experienced something like this before? I don't know the answer to that. When we approach another, when we meet another with honesty and openness, we're really there to listen, to hear the answer. Perhaps it is, have you gone through this before? Did you discover something that could be helpful here? It is so hard for us to let go of this idea that we really know what's best. Right? I'm not alone in that, am I? No. So one of the invitations is going to be to listen to the questions that people ask of you, and also the questions you ask of another. Are you able to just be open, to have a dialogue that is new, that is fresh? It is a continuous intention of us to create a safe container here. And one of the first steps in order to have this safety established is to become aware aware of our boundaries. Boundaries work is so up in the world at the moment. And I love to think about it in this way. What am I really responsible for? What do I have control over? All we have control over, we have a slide for that, are our feelings, our words, our actions, mine. Put your hand on your heart. Mine. What I do, regardless of what somebody else did to me, regardless of how hurt I am. In every new encounter, I have to be aware that what I say, what I do, is my responsibility. Boundaries is really a lot more about ourselves than about the other person. What do I not have control over? What you say, what you do, how you behave. I don't. The stronger, the clearer we can be within our own boundaries. The easier it is to be in community. Because another thing that Parker Palmer says is, in community, that part that you don't accept about yourself, the part that you don't like to look at, the part that you would like people not to see, that is walking in the door. That's what happens. It's great when friendly, loving people come. But what if somebody's activated? That's when it is so important to remember, what am I responsible for? What do I have control over? What can I do? Everything that comes out of my mouth, that is what I am responsible for. Henry Cloud says, boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. A boundary shows me where I end and someone else begins, leading me to a sense of ownership. Knowing what I am to own and take responsibility for gives me freedom. It gives me freedom. And that is what this teaching is. This teaching is a teaching that invites us to take ownership of our own life. It has been condensed down to change your thoughts, change your lives. And it is so much more than that. It is really helping us to get to a point where we can even change our thoughts. Because that is not always easy, especially if we are activated, especially if something just happened that hurt me, or if I'm not feeling well, if I'm not feeling connected. Those are the tools that we learn here. And then the third thing is really making a choice. Knowing and being willing to work on creating a safe container for everyone here is one thing. Working on our personal boundaries is the second thing. And the third thing is really the question that we all have to ask ourselves. Am I ready to be in community? Am I willing to step in? Am I willing to allow something to change me, to soften me, to blossom me open? That is a very individual question. So I have a few questions that I would like to ask you. If if there's no place in my life where my spirit is encouraged to take wing, where do I go to fly? If there's no place in my life where my pain and tears are understood, where do I go to cry? If there's no place in my life where my reality is valued, where do I go to share? If there's no place in my life where I am authentically included and accepted, where do I go to be? If there's no place in my life where I can live, learn, and love, where do I go to grow? And if there's no place in my life where I feel seen, valued, and included, where do I go to serve? I believe that these are questions and are an invitation for us to see what is important in my life. Am I at a point in my life where I am ready to come out of that shell completely? Where I am willing to be vulnerable, be present. No pretense. And then how can I find a place that helps me grow, that helps me receive me? It is an individual question. I have found the answer for me. And I'm so grateful to be on this journey with all of you. Thank you. So we do what we do best here. We anchor all of these ideas in prayer, in our spiritual mind treatment. If you're a practitioner or a minister of this teaching, please stand with me. Hold this space of consciousness as we create together this safe container for this prayer, for this word, for these beloveds, for everyone who is here in the sanctuary, anybody who is hearing the sound of my voice, and everyone who's even driving by on Tatum Boulevard. As we breathe into this space, we recognize that truly there is only one love, one light, one all-inclusive, omnipresent power. We call it God, we call it Spirit. It is known by so many names, and yet it matters not. It is the place where we are who we are, where everything falls away and all that is left is the pure essence of our being. And so we step into that awareness. I am. I am. And we notice how we are met immediately with love, with harmony, with joy, with exuberance. For the divine at the center of our being has been waiting for us to open the door, to walk in. And so my prayer is for each and every beloved to hear their calling, to connect their tribe, with their people, with their community, grow, to live, to soar. Very grateful I am to feel the gratitude just bubbling up within of all the good that is all around us at every moment. We have arrived. We have come home to ourselves. Thank you, life. And so it is.